Hello and welcome again to Southern Circuit. I'm Rick Lee Stone. In his 69 years, Howard Barrett has played pool with the best of them. That's because Howard is one of the best. Safe boating is the concern of a group of dedicated people at Shell Point. Tonight on Southern Circuit, a look at the folks and the focus of Flotilla 13. Tallahassee's Gene Love found that his fondness for fine feathered friends could make him a living, so he turned his home into a business where birds of a feather could flock together and leave Gene something to crow about. When it comes to making art, the word versatile accurately describes Lynn Haven's Ralph Aspinwall. His work ranges from landscape paintings to illustrated cartoons. We'll meet Ralph and take a look at his work when we travel to Bay County this week on Southern Circuit. Us strive to be good at something, but few of us ever get to be the very best. 69-year-old Howard Barrett is one of the special few. In 1959, he won the world championship in both 9-ball and snooker. Today, Howard can still be found in the pool room because even when you're the very best, there's always one person left to challenge, yourself.
Pool, just like any other game, if you fall in love with it, you're hooked.
Howard Barrett's been hooked on the game of pool since 1926, when he picked up a cue stick in order to bring home the bacon.
It was during the Depression. Had to play pool to make enough money to eat off of. Back years ago, the best players would travel around the country and give exhibitions. And all of them come to my hometown, and I was young, playing pool. And I watched them play, and then I just would watch them and practice, and I learned to play that way. Then after I started playing pool, a lot of guys, there was a bunch of good pool players in my home, and I was a good athlete when I was in school, and they took a little extra interest in showing me how to do things, and it wasn't long before I was playing pretty good pool. I've owned 5 different pool rooms in my life. Owned a pool room in Miami, 1 in Tampa, 2 in Fort Myers, and 1 in Hinesville, Georgia. That's a pretty good life. You spend a lot of hours in the pool room, but if you're in the right spot, you make a lot of money. You gotta want to learn to be the best at something. At one time in my life, I considered myself as good a player as there was in the world. And that's a good feeling. It's a great feeling to know that you can do something as good as anybody else in the world can do it.
You see the TV players such as Moscone and Puckett and Crane and these people, this man will beat any of them for my money right now. He's one of the most self-disciplined men I've ever known in my life, and he does anything he does good.
I don't think that you can learn all there is to be known about it. Every day I play, there's something new comes up. I learn something about it every day. And I don't think that, I just don't think that one man or one woman, there's a lot of women play pool today, and I don't think there's one man or one woman will ever learn all there is to be known about pool. There's a lot of women playing pool today. There wasn't back when I started playing. And there's a lot of good women pool players today. Pool is one of the hardest games I think there is to play. It takes more skill to play pool than does any game I've ever played, and I played them all. It takes good coordination, good eyesight, and a good mind. A lot of people can play pool all their life. And if they don't have, it's something that you call pool sense. You either get it real quick or you never get it. You have to have good coordination and a good mind to be able to think pool. It doesn't mean that you can't think about other things, but some people they can never get what it takes to play pool. They can play and play and play, but it's just I don't know, I've seen people play pool for 25 and 30 years and never play any better than they did the first 2 or 3 weeks after they played. Other people, they get it real quick. It's easy to be distracted when you're playing pool, especially when you're gambling. Somebody moves, somebody talks, says something while you're shooting, it'll make you miss. Makes me miss a lot more now than it used to because I'm older and I'm nervous. But even when I was young, you have to be able to concentrate real hard, especially when you're gambling. I won $47,000 one night playing pool.
What was the pressure like that night?
Pretty good. I lost about 15, 20 pounds too. I played a guy pool. We played for 42 hours straight. That's the longest I ever played. I played a lot of times, 20, 23, 24 hours. But this night, me and a guy played pool for 42 continuous hours. And that is a long time. And I was 40 years old when that happened. I like to play just as much. I don't practice as much now as I used to because I just don't feel like practicing, you know. But I still like to play pool as well now as I did when I first started. It's a challenge. It's a self-challenge. And I don't care how good you get, you can still improve and still learn. I don't think anybody will ever be able to say that they can just play and play and play and play and play and never miss. It's just a self-challenge. That's why people get hooked on it. They try to improve and keep improving. If I had to do over again, I'd do the same thing. I've made a lot of money playing pool. I've made a lot of money in the pool business. But I always like to have a good time, so I went through most of it. But if I had to do over again, I'd do the same thing. You can't take it with you.
With some 1,200 miles of coastline in Florida, it follows that boating would rank among the most popular of pastimes. Boating also ranks among the most hazardous of pastimes, and the many boaters who venture out onto the waters of Appalachia Bay each year have a lot less to worry about than they might. Watching out for them is a group of dedicated Samaritans at Shell Point, known as Flotilla 13.
Coast Guard Shell Point, Coast Guard Shell Point, this is the vessel, springtime, over.
This is U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary to the vessel in distress. Could you state the name of your vessel, over?
This is springtime, we're taking on a lot of water out here, over.
During peak boating periods throughout Florida's long season, the nearly 60 volunteers of the U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary's Flotilla 13 monitor marine radio frequencies and routinely patrol the bay, both on the water and from the air, ready to respond immediately to any need for help.
Springtime, if you would stand by, I'll try to get our patrol boat underway, over.
We'll be standing right by here.
Miss Edie, this is the U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary at Shell Point, over.
This is Miss Edie, come back.
Miss Edie, we have a vessel that's in distress. She's about 3 or 4 miles southeast of the number 2 marker off of Alligator Point. We need for you to prepare to get underway at this time. Over.
Roger, we're prepared to get underway.
We normally have one big rescue a year. Normally it comes in October. The station is officially closed, but the fish are running good then. So the boaters are down, particularly the boaters from Georgia and Alabama are here on weekends. They're not used to tides. They're not used to how quickly a storm can blow up, and they're in trouble.
People will have their boats sitting in their backyards maybe for 2 or 3 months, come down to Shell Point, put it in the water, and go out to the fishing grounds and not have checked either the oil or the condition of the batteries or the transmissions or any routine preventative maintenance type things that should be done to a boat. And everything that happens out there is something that could have been prevented. I would say 99% of the time.
On a normal day, we have 2 people in the radio station. We have 2 to 3 people on patrol, depending on the size of the vessel. Now, the larger vessels must have 3, and it is advisable to have 4. So we're speaking of, say, 6 people twice a week, so that's 12 people, 4 or 5 times a month, adds up. So consequently, some of us find ourselves on duty more than once a month. Everybody is expected to give a day a month.
Nellie, we have our Coast Guard station here at Shell Point open from the 1st of April until the 1st of October. And during that period of time, we operate only on weekends, and we operate from noon until 7 o'clock in the evening, Saturdays, Sundays, and holidays. That's when we are officially open. Any other time, if something should come up and a boater is in distress in our area or close to our area, they will call on the distress frequency, which is channel 16, to the Coast Guard. The Coast Guard will in turn give us a call by telephone and say, go get them.
What is the problem with the sea breeze over?
Basically, we're responsible for all of Appalachia Bay out to a point about 10 miles beyond Seabuoy 24. We will go on a routine patrol. I can't tell you how many times I've made that patrol, but I have never completed the patrol. Somewhere along the line, I'll get a call to bring someone in, which is kind of interesting. One day I'm going to complete the patrol. Our aerial patrol is called a sundown patrol, and it's exactly that. Our flotilla commander here, Jack Rosenow, is a qualified pilot and has been qualified by the Coast Guard to fly our patrol with his airplane.
The patrols start in May, first part of May, in this area, and will run through September, including September. Well, this is a weekly thing normally, and of course normally on Sunday, because we feel if people have had troubles on Saturday, they might be out over Saturday night if we don't get word, but by Sunday we'd like to try to make sure we get them and get them in so that everything's secured. I get out there, let them know where the vessel is, try to stay over the boat until the vessels get there so they've got a good marker and get there as quickly as they can. Let them know what the conditions are. If there's an emergency condition, well, we might be able to get a chopper from a rescue unit to come out and actually pluck somebody off of a boat. Problem sometimes, you know, I've probably 8 or 9 qualified observers that can go with me, but when you have a search and rescue called, an emergency called, it's sometimes difficult to find enough people home or the one that can break free and go. And Jean is one of my standbys, obviously, and plus I like to have her patrol with me on the weekends.
I give the bearing to the VOR tower and how far out I estimate we are, which is sort of a fix, a bearing versus 10 miles out. And we give a fix on a search about every time we change course. But when we fly the control, we give us a location report every 30 minutes.
What is our pay for the hours we put in here? When we know we've saved a life, it's more than $1 million. You spent 2 or 3 days searching for a boat, a small little boat out in that insignificant, it's just tiny, and suddenly the aircraft says they have spotted the boat and the people are waving. When they're waving, they're alive. And there's nothing that can beat it. That's our pay.
For many of us, the working person's fantasy is to take a hobby and turn it into a livelihood. That's exactly what Gene Love of Birds Etc. did, and he thoroughly enjoys his fantasy come true.
I bought a bird dog. I bought some homing pigeons to train the bird dog. Became far more interested in the homing pigeons than the bird dog, sold the bird dog. Got real involved with homing pigeons up in Illinois. And then when we moved south, I didn't want to bring the pigeons, so I traded them for some canaries. And from 2 pair of canaries, we went to cockatiels and finches and parakeets. And this is a result of 7 years, of accumulations. Birds adapt, tremendously well to the lifestyles of people. And the things that you like, the things that you do, the bird just becomes a part, far more than, in my opinion, a cat or a dog. And I hope we aren't offensive to cat and dog lovers, but they seem to adapt a great deal more readily. And birds are becoming really a desirable pet now because so many apartments and condominiums and rental properties will not allow dogs and cats, but they will allow birds. Parakeet is generally a starter bird. It's a bird that children usually buy. A lot of times the adults want to start with a parakeet, mainly because they do not feel they're capable of coping or training a larger bird. The parakeet is just something for company. Cockatiels actually develop into a companion bird. And then the big birds, generally people buy a big bird either because they have seen a big bird that someone had, or they have always wanted a big bird. But the big birds really develop into a member of the family. You begin to refer to them as a member of the family.
Do you love me? Give me a kiss. Give me a good kiss. Oh, a good one. Give me a good kiss.